Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our third edition of Orange Plate Special. I'm Mark Blakeman. I'm the Marilyn and Carl Toma Executive Director of the McKnight Center for the Performing Arts at Oklahoma State University. I'm coming to you live from the recital hall stage of the McKnight Center, and joining us today are our special guests, Alexis Juliano and Ivan Salazar. Alexi and Ivan are both cast members of the explosive and unique Broadway hit Stomp. As cast members, they're responsible for creating innovative percussion sounds using some rather unconventional props, which I know we'll talk about a little bit more. Lexi's an award-winning dancer and was a finalist with the very popular TV show So You Think You Can Dance. Ivan has had an equally impressive career and plays a very prominent role in the cast of Stomp, plays the role of Sarge, and I think he'll hopefully share some more with that as well. Welcome, guys.
Thank you
Hi.
for having us.
You're sheltering in place in Florida, I understand, and
Yes, sir.
we were just talking before we went live that your touring stopped in mid-March. Is that right?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
And has that, although that maybe that was a welcome break, you probably are ready to get back at it, I suspect.
Oh, more than ever. This has been a nice vacation, but it's time to go back. It's
Yeah,
time to go
enough
back.
is enough.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Tell us, if you would, just to so that we can understand, what each of you, how you're involved in the production. What is it that brought you both? What was your journey to get to Stomp? Give us a little bit of background, if you would, for both, and what is your role in the respective role in the show?
Definitely. It's funny because our stories are very different for how we got
Yeah.
involved. I was on another show. I was touring with So You Think You Can Dance, and we actually overlapped with Stomp. We were both, I think, in Arizona at the time, and someone who was on tour with us, Aaron, did the Vegas show for Stomp, so he knew the cast that was on tour, and so we met up. We went to their show. They came to our show, and the rehearsal director at the time of the touring company said, "Hey, if you ever want to audition, like let me know. I'll get your information to them, and you can go to a private audition." And I was like, "Definitely, thank you." Like not thinking anything of it. I just never expect that that'll actually work out in my favor. Where like I'll get a call to go audition. But they called me a few months later. I went to a private audition in New York, so there were only about maybe 50 people, if that were there. They were only looking to hire 3 girls and I think 2 guys at the time. So it was a very small window for people to get hired. And I went. It was a 2-day workshop for me because my schedule got mixed up, so I missed the first day. So I went to the callbacks, and everyone knew what they were doing, and I was stressed because I knew nothing. I couldn't do anything. So that was stressful, but it was 2 days, and then it was an 8 week, about 6 to 8 week process of learning the show. And then I did one show in New York, and then they hired me for the tour, and I went to tour a week after I got hired. And that's
Wow.
basically my, yeah. And I play both girl parts. I play Cornish and Bin, and I also sometimes will swing a male role called Particle, but I've only done it like 2 or 3 times. And this last tour, I was co-rehearsal director with Ivan, so that was an awesome opportunity for me to have as well.
Excellent. 3-day audition. That sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it was a very long process of doing things that I had never done before because they want you to. It's not like your typical Broadway audition. There's no dance, there's no singing, there's no speaking roles. So you're holding a broom and you're making music with a broom for the first time. For me, I had never drummed before, so I was doing a 4-bar drum solo for the very first time. Like I had no idea. It was probably terrible. I honestly am shocked that it's been 6 years and I'm still doing this amazing show. It's just, they see something in you and they see this like musician, this drummer that can come out, and they just kind of mold you and shape you into being a Stomp performer. And it's really an amazing kind of mix of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
So, Ivan, how did you get involved with Stomp?
Well, I grew up drumming my whole life, pretty much since the age of 13. But a friend of mine had free tickets from work, and I didn't even want to go see it. And so she kind of basically dragged us all. Cause like, no, let's go. It'll be fun. And then I went and I saw it, and my jaw just dropped. It was amazing. It was the most spectacular, amazing thing I've ever seen. So I'm like, okay, I need to be a part of this. And then after that, I think within a week or two, I found that someone who used to be in the show lived like 10 minutes from where I lived in San Diego. And he actually had his own group, very much similar to DARE. And they do like assemblies in schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. And so I actually auditioned for his group and made it. And I tried to learn as much as I can from him because he knew, he had been part of the group that I really wanted to be part of, Stomp. And I learned from him, and I was able to audition after 4 years of that. And I didn't make it, but then 2 years later they had auditions again, and then I finally did make it. And it's been 7 years, and I've done almost all the roles. There's 8 roles total in the show, and I've done 5 of them. And she's basically done the other 2 that I haven't done. And then there's a funny role, the funny guy, pretty much the clown role that I would love to do, but maybe in the near future, who knows? But
got it.
It's been a great dream come true and a great thrill ride.
It sounds like an incredible journey that you're both on, and a lot of fun. So Lexi, your training, based on what you've said, is dance predominantly, and then Ivan, you started off very early as a drummer. So I'm just curious, does the cast predominantly fall into one particular discipline, or is it kind of a mix of musician, dance, stage performer?
It ends up kind of evening out on accident. That's not a plan. It's not like they want 6 dancers and 6 drummers in the cast, but just somehow that's how it works most of the time. So you get the straight drummers, you get the ones that were doing drumline and drum corps and in college, or just drum set, just anything with drums. And then you get the full-on dancers only that have never used their hands really to make music. You get singer-songwriters. You get the straight actors who are just acting, and they'll usually be able to portray that funny character that Ivan was talking about. Just they're really good with the audience, and they have a lot of one-on-one interaction with them, so they're really comfortable in that aspect, because we all have kind of differences that we had to work on. Like for drummers, they don't move their feet that much, so the coordination with hands and feet was like kind of different for them, because that's more of their dancing role. Whereas for me, anything that I had just used my hands, I was like, what is going on? So that's also kind of humbling, because you get the people that are like, oh, I'm so good at this, but then they need help from the dancers on that, and vice versa. So it's just a nice blended family that comes together to make this
we all help
show.
each other to grow. So like, especially for me, I was perfectly comfortable drumming and doing all the percussion, but I couldn't look at an audience member in the eye. Like you want to hide even though there's nowhere to hide. And through the years you get more comfortable, and then you kind of miss it, especially obviously now in quarantine. Like I do miss that interaction, that connection with the crowd, and it's something that makes the moment just so much bigger. We like to think of the audience as the ninth member of the show, because we're very inclusive, and then that shows obviously with the cast and who we cast. Someone in the audience might be able to identify with someone on stage and relate to them.
What's funny though is that he said he couldn't look at the audience, but now his role, Sarge, who's like the main guy, we say, he just kind of like steers the show. He has like a 3-4 minute solo on stage, and then he has to interact with the audience for like a minute and a half, just him in the audience. So it's crazy, like your evolution of how you came to be able to do that is great.
It sounds like, obviously they're looking for talented performers, but chemistry, personality, chemistry, character is a really critical element to the success of the show.
Yeah, definitely. I think in any show, if you have that one little seed that's just a little rotten, it kind of, it just, the whole show won't blend, and you'll be able to see that on stage. Like something's not gelling right with this person. They're just in the corner by themselves. So you definitely have to make sure everyone's kind of cohesive and is nice, one nice family.
Although, I mean, that's the ideal, right? But I mean, I think I've heard the creators sometimes go out of their way to cast someone who's a little bit off because you kind of want a little microcosm of the world. So you kind of, even though we don't speak, people try to guess and interpret what the storyline is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if one of us just stands a little bit farther away from someone else, and you kind of get to understand the relationships in your own head, you get to make up your own narrative.
Right. And so, Lexi, you said you've been with Stomp for 6 years, and Ivan, you've been in the cast for 7, so that's hundreds or thousands of performances, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
he works. Sometimes I feel like I'm cheating when I say 6 years because I was hired in 2014, but I only really do the touring company. I did the New York for 1 summer. So really I'm like 5-6 months on and then like 6 months off. So I'm not consistently doing shows, whereas he will do the tour and then go straight to New York and then go straight back to tour. So he's been like consistently working for 7. Where
Yeah.
I've done 6 tours, but I'm not as consistently
Right.
on.
But when
So-
she's not doing the show, she's auditioning for other stuff. She's taking classes. She's dancing. She's
Is it
very active.
challenging with so many performances, especially for you, Ivan, to keep it fresh in some kind of way?
So I think that's part of the magic of the show is that although we have a structure, like maybe 75% of it is written and choreographed, all the solos you see, we have so much creative license to wear what we want, to make moments that we want within a certain frame. But we can make up a new solo every time and keep it fresh for ourselves. And then outside of that, I get to do multiple roles. So I have so much freedom to express myself in different ways that it doesn't become dull for me, at least. And there's always something new to challenge myself with and to kind of dominate. Like I said, coming in, I didn't want to look at the audience and interact with them. And so just being comfortable, and I'm going to take that as my challenge and grow and in the next 2 months work on getting better at this one part or this one. And even now this last tour where we were co-rehearsal directors, that was a new challenge. And now we had to be in charge of whole cast, which we had never done before. And so every time that I have to come out on tour or go back to New York, there's always something that I have to challenge myself with, a new cast member to kind of guide, or an injury that I have to learn to work around. There's always something.
That's what's cool about the show, and that's why people can stay in the show for like 15 plus years and not get bored, essentially, because there is that 25% of improv that you get to do every night, and it's a different show every night. And that's not usually the case with every Broadway show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can go, I've seen Wicked 3-4 times. And yes, the cast changes, but I know the show and I know what's going to happen. And it's a beautiful show, but now I've seen it 4 times. It's like, oh, this is when Glinda comes out. But now it's like, oh, wait, that's not when Mozzie comes out in Stomp. Wait, what's happening? Is this new? What's going on? So it's always fresh, which is, I don't know, very cool. Very cool to be a part of.
Yeah.
Does the energy or the interactions with the audience, does that play an element in maybe the improvisational aspects or how you play to the audience where you have that creative license?
Yeah, definitely. There's always, some cities are more reserved. Some cities are, they sit and they wait for the end of the number and then they clap and they're very respectful theater goers. Exactly.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. And then you have some theaters that are like rock and roll concerts and they're like, yeah, and like, making a mess and throwing popcorn. I don't know. So you have to kind of cater to that specific group. And it's hard, especially for Mozzie, who is the main comedic role. He really has like almost full responsibility because Sarge can only do so much musically and kind of engaging the audience with that aspect. But to keep the audience engaged and like following Mozzie's journey, he has to be like, okay, they're not really into the falling comedy. Let me give them more dry humor, or let me give them this. Mm-hmm. And it's such a game to play, and that it definitely is an impact for us as well on stage to kind of understand like what they want or need as an audience member. So that's always challenging and fun to
we definitely
figure out.
we definitely feed off the crowd. They're
Yeah.
they're a huge part of what we're gonna put out there. If and we're always gonna go and go 110%. But if we see, like, especially at least for me, just because I've done so many, if like around halfway they haven't erupted or whatever, I kind of know. I'm like, all right, cool. That it doesn't mean they don't like the show. Obviously, just more. Maybe there's largely older folks in the crowd that they're not going to just go bananas.
Right.
So just learning how to deal with that, and definitely.
It's certainly a production that is so unique. You know, when it hit really big in the 90s when it first launched, it was really explosive. And now we're talking, 25 years later, so there's real longevity for Stomp. What is it, do you think, that kind of appeals most to the audience? And I'm sure that this is a production that people see on a regular basis. They go back and see the show again. The fact that there is improvisation means it's changed up a little bit. But what do you think has been such the big attraction for the audience for the last 2.5 decades?
I feel like there's a lot that could go into that. I mean, there's just the fact that, like, we're not telling you how to feel, and we're not telling you the story. So that's one. Like, they get to come and kind of like put together their own storyline for whatever they want. Another big thing is that we're so personable. Like, we're wearing street clothes, we're wearing jeans and t-shirts, and we're wearing work boots that maybe your dad wears to work at the factory. Like, it's just, we look like the everyday kind of worker, blue collar worker that they're very easily can relate to. Anyone on stage, we're all very different, so you can always find someone. I think the fact that it is honestly always a different show. Like that's not even an exaggeration. Even on a double show day on a Saturday, if you come to the matinee and you come to the Saturday night show, it will be completely different, which is so crazy. And it's so weird to say that, but it really is. Like, the comedy is different, the feel is different, the grooves are different. It's just, the costumes are different. Like, it's so different every time. And especially with the creators, they put in new numbers every like 5 or 6 years. So we have 2 new numbers in the show that just got added last summer. So that's something brand new. And I think it's just always really fresh. And you always hear, like, oh man, I saw this show 30 years ago, bringing my kids, and they're bringing their kids. Like, it's just, they're always bringing their families back, and it's, I don't know, it's so great.
I think, obviously for all these reasons, but also just we're encouraged to be ourselves. The creators come and they'll criticize us and be like, why did you do that thing? That doesn't seem like you. And they want, obviously, you, but just a little bit turned up. So it also, you get this genuine reaction from everyone on stage, or at least that's the goal. So when you see us go all out, I think people have a visceral response to seeing someone on stage just exuding their whole spirit, everything they got. I mean, that's what we want, and that's what I think ultimately touches people, to see that, because that's what you want. You want to go to the movies or read a book to be surprised and to be engaged or see something powerful or passionate.
Right.
And I think that keeps people coming back, and you're going to be surprised. You're going to see passionate expressions on stage. So I think, at least for me, that's what I go and I see a show, and I'll remember it if it touched me or moved me in that kind of way.
Very clearly, you're connecting with people and doing it in a unique way that I would think makes it very memorable, for the audience members. So I think that's a lot of fun. With so many performances in a year and having done this for a number of years now, tell us a little bit about what it's like to be on the road. I mean, you've talked about this. You kind of have referred to this as the cast as a family. So it sounds like it has a really kind of loving vibe to it. Hopefully that's true. But, being on the road so much has to be a grind. What's that like? And are there things that you do, routines or kind of self-care things that, give you a taste of home when you're out touring?
Well, I think first being on the road with, like we said, a family. You know, families fight, families bigger. So you know, there's gonna be that, especially when you're in close quarters for 6 months. At least it's bound to happen, even when you love each other. You know, there's arguments. So there's definitely that still. But I think I love being on the road. I've always preferred touring. I really enjoy living out of a suitcase. I like making my own little, what is it, like my own little routines on the road. Like I'll wake up, maybe I'll go to the gym, even though I probably won't because I'll be very tired. So, yeah. But you know, wake up, get some nice, I'll try to find like a local coffee shop, which I never used to do. I used to only go to Starbucks, but now I'm like all about the local coffee shops, and you know, I just hang out there for a little bit, find a local breakfast spot because I love breakfast. I've definitely like, from the first 2 years of tour to the last 4, I'm all about local now. I don't ever want to chain. I just want to be in the city, be in these little areas, and find the awesome spots that are kind of hidden. You're better with like the self-care routines. He's way better at working out and like.
Well, I feel like
doing
especially getting older, it just doesn't get easier. If anything, obviously, it gets harder. So, and the show, if you've ever seen it, it's very physically demanding. So I have to take it seriously, and I just take it more and more seriously, like drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, stretching before and after shows. All of that plays a huge role. Sometimes we do a show and then we have to be on a bus immediately after that show because we have a show the next day but in a different town. So we have to drive 4 hours on a sit-up bus. Or even if we're in a sleeper bus, yes, technically we can sleep, but with all the adrenaline that usually you come off a show, it's just you're so hyper that you don't go to sleep till maybe 3 or 5 in the morning, if at all. And then there's always beer on the bus or something. So not that, like, so for me, I can't speak for everyone. Some people drink, and that's a huge part of the culture for performers after a show. But for me, I'm like, I have to drink water because if I want to be any good for the next show tomorrow, I need to, because I have to take care of myself, and that's first and foremost. And then some people can drink all night and then be fine,
everyone's
kill it
routine
the
is
next
different.
day. But I don't know, I'm made differently, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
you know, everyone has their different things. We have family people on the road, so it's like a dad, and they have to, you know, talk to their kid every night on FaceTime from their bunk in their sleeper bus little cabin thing. So it's just, you know, everyone has their things to stay sane and kind of stay grounded and stay, I don't know.
But like you said, it is a big family. We all like love each other and care for each other, and we do have hard talks if we need to have them, but we're all generally very respectful. I think the co-creators also take that in mind for when they're casting the tours. They want people who meld well together and will produce a good show, because I think because they've done it and they've done the show for a long time, they know what the show needs in order to survive. Especially, we're a bunch of animals, so we need to somehow have a good combo for it to last 6 months.
To have balance. What's a typical show day look like for a cast member? What's involved there?
Wake up. For me personally, I wake up, I'll go get breakfast, because I'll eat breakfast no matter the time. So even if it's 1 or 2, I find a breakfast spot. I'll probably go back to the room, maybe fall asleep for a second. Oh my God, I sound so lazy. And then I'll wake up, go get my coffee, go to the theater, get our tour bags out of the hallway, pick a dressing room, rehearse for an hour. Then we have warm up. Then we have like a little 20-minute reset rehearsal just to kind of re-gel after our warm up. We do our handshakes backstage, and then we do the show. And then we cool down afterwards, pack up, and head on out.
And you said there's 8 roles, is that right?
Yes.
But I assume there are more cast members than 8, right? So is it changing night after night, and is that necessary to give people kind of a respite, you know, let their bodies recover a little bit? And
yeah, it's funny because the first couple years of the show there were only 8 members, so there were no swings. Everyone did every show, and I think after a while it was just like, all right, this isn't gonna work. We're not gonna be able to keep these these cast members. We're
Right.
gonna have to switch them out every so often. So now there's 12 cast members. 4 are off every night, and especially this past tour, we tried to make sure it's even and give everyone like a day or 2 off every week if we could.
Yeah.
Just to give everyone that rest day and to kind of regroup and get their bodies right. But yeah.
That makes sense. So the McKnight Center is located at Oklahoma State University. So we have students here who are training in theater and dance and music, and some of those young people aspire to be performers. I'm curious to know if you have any career advice or advice that you received early on in your career that maybe pushed you forward or helped you, persevere, or maybe even reframe how you're approaching the work that you were pursuing.
I think for me, it's like, I think especially right now with what's kind of going on and just kind of like not being able to do everything I want to be doing right now, is like, I'm just trying to like not force it. And if it's like, if I'm not feeling something right now, that's okay. That doesn't mean I don't want to do it. Like I want to be a dancer for the rest of my life. I want to pursue dance. I want to audition and get all the jobs that I can. But if I'm not feeling completely inspired right now to go out and try to do everything I can online like everyone else, that's okay. And I don't have to be stressed at myself that I'm not, well, why don't I want to do this? Does this mean I don't want to dance anymore? Why don't I want to be teaching every day on Zoom? And it's like, no, that's just not your thing. And you want to be in person and you want to work with students in real life. And that doesn't mean we're not going off track. We're just kind of pausing for a little bit, and that's okay. Everything's okay. You don't have to force anything, I think is a big one. And that's a new thing that I'm learning right now, is to not force. And I think also a no is just a no. That's not it.
Right.
Like, you're going to get the no, because if every job was perfect for you, there wouldn't be enough jobs. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's going to be a mold that's perfect for you and for what you want to do, and it will happen. And a no just means that you're getting closer to what that yes is. And that's so much easier said than done. There was an audition I did last summer, and I think I went to like 5 callbacks, and it was like a dream. And then I never got that last call. And I think I just sat on the couch. Like, he knew I was just like defeated. Like, I was just like over it. Like, I didn't want to go on any other auditions. That was it. And he was like, Les, like, it'll happen. Like, you can't stop now. You'll never get the yes. You're just going to sit on the no forever? No. So, that it's just being realistic. The no's are going to happen, but the yeses are going to come.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
Gotta wait. Yeah.
Ivan, you have any advice, thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think it took me 6 years from the time I decided to join Stomp, and it was a long, arduous journey, and I didn't make it that first audition, and I didn't hear from them for another 2 years. And even then, it is kind of scary, because I know I put a lot into making this dream come true, but man, it's just, after that 4 years, and then I auditioned, when they said, actually, they didn't say anything. They didn't say yes or no. So I was kind of in this limbo. I'm like, all right, I guess they might call at some point later, because I had friends and they had heard, but I didn't hear anything. But after that, I decided to, all right, well, I'll learn something new. And I joined capoeira, and I started learning this Brazilian martial art. And that influenced my movement and my whole outlook on everything, especially because I didn't grow up dancing and knowing how to really throw my weight around and shapes and just being that active for an hour and a half. I needed that. And so even though I was a drummer and had all that, I joined this martial art that helped me understand how to move my body more. And so when the time came again, I was better prepared. And so if you do want something, even though you don't have it, you can always garner more information and more influence from different avenues to help you be more well-rounded when the time comes, and you can be that much more effective when the time comes.
Right.
So I would just say persevere. If it's your dream and you love it, pursue it. And I don't know.
Just don't give up.
Don't
it's
quit.
So cliche.
Don't quit.
It's so cliche, but it's like, I think it's just like, if you want it, you can't give up on it, or then you'll know for certain it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So you might as well keep trying.
Yeah.
I know that we're running out of time. I want to get to one question here that we have from a viewer. It comes from Amy H. from Facebook, and she's saying Stomp is, definitely a show that focuses on dance, but do you have experience with or aspire to do other types of performing?
Yeah.
Other types of performing. May I
Well,
have
you-
an
well,
example?
you
What's another type?
Tap dance, is that like maybe a different
I
type
mean,
of
Stomp
performing?
was the other type of performing that I didn't think I was to be completely honest. Like, I saw the show when I was 7, and I was like, oh, this is a phenomenal show. I will never do that, because that's not what I do.
It may just be a question of, life after Stomp, or what other career aspirations, might you have.
Yeah. I've always loved teaching. That's always been something that I loved doing. If I wasn't performing, I was teaching. That's what I did in the off season. So after Stomp, after performing, when I'm retired from that, I definitely see myself teaching at dance studios, traveling to teach, any sort of outlet where I can teach kids dance and teach them kind of the history of it. That's definitely my second passion. That's what I love to do.
Very nice.
Great. I think I have a harder time answering that question. I think just for the longest time, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think when I was 10, I either wanted to be a rock star or a rock star or a professional wrestler. And it's funny because I think if you had to make something that was somewhere in between, it would be Stomp.
What?
And it's
A wrestler?
well, it's just
wrestling
it's very physical.
No,
it's very like I don't know.
understand.
And so when I finally saw it, I'm like, light went off, and I'm like, this is what I need to be doing. So even though I felt lost for a while and I found it, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I guess when I feel like I'm not supposed to do this anymore, I hope that I'll know what that other thing is.
Right.
Right now, you're still living the dream.
That's
I'm
great.
Still living it, but my antenna's up there, and it's trying to read and pick up on whatever it is I'm supposed to do next.
Let it unfold. Well, thank you both for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. It's been great to talk with you. Stomp will take over the McKnight Center Luciania stage for 2 nights in April of next year, April 22 and 23. We're really excited to host you here at our lovely facility. For those who are interested in tickets, we don't have single tickets on sale yet, but you can contact our box office and get on our wait list. That's the best way to get in the queue for tickets for any of our upcoming shows for next season. You can contact the box office by calling 405-744-9999 or emailing us at info@mcknightcenter.org. And I hope that for our viewers, you'll join us next week, Wednesday, June 24 at noon Central Time. That'll be our next Orange Plate Special live stream. We'll be joined by Janet Eilber, Artistic Director of the Martha Graham Dance Company. Janet is going to fill us in on what it was like to dance for Martha Graham, the mother of modern dance, and we'll talk about one of Graham's most iconic works, Appalachian Spring, which they'll be bringing to the McKnight Center in spring of next year as well. So hope to see you all next Wednesday. Thank you again, Lexi and Ivan. We really appreciate your time today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you soon.